Hi, we're Kinny and JJ, and in this video we're going all the way to Innsbruck, Austria. But let's back it up a little bit, because if you didn't see our last video, we're on this Oktoberfest road trip. Our trip started in Zurich, where we showed you 5 things to do when you're in Zurich and short on time. So if you didn't see this video, be sure to go back and check it out. After leaving Zurich, we stopped by to see some really cool waterfalls, and then we went to this old medieval town. Now you're all caught up and ready to join us for our next big adventure in Innsbruck, Austria. The drive to Innsbruck was beautiful, and it really made you want to sing songs from the sound of music. And after a 4.5-hour drive, we finally arrived in Innsbruck, where we're going to spend 38 hours. Our first order of business was to check into our Airbnb. We picked this specific Airbnb because it would fit all 3 of us, and it came with a parking spot. One thing to be aware of when reserving an Airbnb abroad is that you have to bring cash so that you can pay any of the taxes and fees that are associated with the place that you're staying. After we got all of that out of the way, we went out to explore the city. As you can see here, the town is a picturesque town nestled in the Alps. And this is one of the main shopping areas in the town, and so everything's kind of in a central location. Of course, there are some side streets that you can also explore that have a lot of different shops and even an indoor mall. On the edge of town, you'll find the Inn River, which flows through Switzerland, Austria, and Germany. Across the river is where you'll find the colorful houses of Innsbruck, which is commonly what you see in pictures. After a long day of driving and exploring the city, we decided to go ahead and stop at a wine shop to get some refreshments, some local wine and beer, and some charcuterie, which was just an appetizer before our Tyrolean Evening with the Gundolf family, which was a dinner and show. While it may look like this is going to be an elementary school production, rest assured it is not. You have And you're not in the Alps without a little bit of all rounded out by In fact, this show is such a great cultural experience that if you go to Austria's tourism website, they have a whole section on Innsbruck and a 3-day itinerary, and that itinerary wraps up with the family Gundolf dinner and show. After the show, we wanted to go out for a little bit before going to bed, but I was very surprised that there's not really a nightlife in Innsbruck. But that was okay. We did find one bar that was still open, and so we got a couple of drinks before we went home and went to bed for our next day. In addition to not really having a nightlife, we found out that there's not really breakfast either. We did end up finding this Turkish bakery, and it was absolutely delicious, so I'm really glad we went here, and it was one of the few breakfast places that was open. The 3 of us shared this meat and egg omelet, and it was plenty for us. Our next big adventure, which was also recommended by Innsbruck Tourism, was to go to the top of Innsbruck. To get there, you have to take a funicular and then a series of cable cars. It's not cheap to get there, it's $69 a person, but it is worth the price. And then along the way, there is a zoo that you could stop at and a couple of restaurants, but the views are fantastic. Funicular stops in Hungerburger, and that's where you'll get out and you'll transfer over to the cable car that will take you to the top of Innsbruck. On the way to the top, our cable car was not very busy, so we were able to get some really good views of Innsbruck before we disappeared into the clouds. After about a 15-minute cable car ride, we finally arrived to the top where it was snowing. It was such a big temperature change from being down in Innsbruck to being at the top of Innsbruck, so if you're going to do this, be sure to bring a jacket. You can spend as much time as you want walking around and taking pictures. There's even a few hiking paths that you can go up, down, and around. And you can even go down the mountain on a hiking path if you wanted to. And during the winter, this is a ski area. So if you're into skiing, Innsbruck might be the place to go. After walking around, we went to the restaurant to grab a couple of beers before starting our journey back down through the clouds. This time our cable car was much more crowded. It wasn't quite as nice of a journey down, but we still got to see the great views. If you haven't figured out by now, we're really into beer. So our next stop was a little beer shop in Innsbruck where we wanted to go so we could try some of the local beers and understand Austria and Innsbruck's beer culture. And luckily, John had a very comfortable seat to sit in while we did this. After that, we went to dinner for our last night in Innsbruck. And I'll be honest, there are so many different food options in Innsbruck, I don't think that you can really go wrong. All of the food seems to be really fresh and everything was delicious. After 38 hours, our time in Innsbruck was over and it was time to make the 2-hour journey north to Munich. And one of the best parts about driving is going as fast as you want on the Autobahn, which is something John's been waiting for a very long time. And finally we got to the part where the Autobahn started, so the speed limit cancels out, and of course we hit traffic. So not pictured is John's major disappointment in not being able to go fast. But there's plenty of road trip left for us to try again. Tune in next time where we'll be exploring Munich on bike during all kinds of weather, and we'll be going to our first Oktoberfest. Thanks so much for watching. We really appreciate all of your support. And if you're new and you like what you see, please like and subscribe. It really helps us out.